So we're on Daf Lamed Vav Amud Beis, and the whole parak is about Knas. Even though we went on very many cruises about Kamle B'Di Rabbi Minei and Le'en Loka Mishalim, but the main subject was about Knas. Onus Hamafata. The Torah says that these were cases of rape and seduction, so they're supposed to pay a Knas and Lo Sial Isha. And we had the first mention was those that are eligible for Knas, even though they are Chedushim. And now it says Elu Shein Lem Knas. This is the list of those that are not eligible for the Knas, the Onus Hamafata. The first one is if she was a chashash that she was a be'ula, because it says over there, dafka basul, dafka virgin, abala gyoras, bala shvui, bala shifcha. These three women were choshesh that they had relations. A goya, if she's a gyoras, now she's Jewish, but she was once upon a time a goy. When she was a goy, then she might have been hefker, and they might have been nivala. And shvuya, if she was also captured in captivity, so also the captors might have taken advantage of her. And the shifcha, that if she was a maidservant, so also they live b'chai hefker. They're more loose, and they might have had relations. And therefore, the becheskas that they had relations, becheskas that they're not a basula, even though we don't know that they were married, but becheskas that they were a be'ula, and therefore there's no knas. But all these cases is only if they had that, if that changed after they were 3 years old. The gior, the conversion, the redemption, the emancipation were after she was 3 years old. We said in the Mishnah before, the previous Mishnah said if it happened before they were 3 years old, even if they were nivala, then that would not have affected the hymen. If the gior, the conversion, the redemption, and the emancipation happened after they were 3 years old, so we're choshesh that they were nivala before they became Jewish, before they were freed, before they were ransomed, and that's what we're choshesh that she's not a basula. So the Pashra on the Mishnah seems to be that even though we learn many times that there's a b'chash and a shvuya that she was raped, but here Abuda seems to argue. That seems to be the Pashra on the Mishnah. Abuda says that a shvuya, a captive that was redeemed, ransomed, so she's still considered her same level of kedusha as before, means that she was not nivala. We're not choshesh. That's what the boys seem to say, even though she's a gedola, not only because less than 3 years old when she was ransomed, even if she was a gedola, we're not choshesh that she was nivala. That's what it seems to say. The Gemara is going to talk about it. And the rest of the Mishnah says is also a din of Kamle B'Di Rabbi Minei, which we learned many times. We brought down this Mishnah a few times. Al Baal Bito, Al Bas Bito, Al Bas Beno, Al Bas Ishto, Al Bas Beno, Al Bas Bita, and Lam Kanas. All these cases are women that would be Chayiv Mrs. Bezdin. That the Sreifa, if someone had relations with his daughter, with his granddaughter, a daughter's daughter, or a son's daughter, or his wife's daughter, or granddaughter, so then there's no Kanas. Why? But they should Chayiv Nafsha, because this act of having relations with this relative is Chayiv Mrs. Bezdin. She misas to be their Bezdin. B'chalam is Chayiv Nafsha, and Mishal Moment. Anybody that's Chayiv Misa for the same act, we're not going to give him a monetary payment or penalty even. So this is the mokar. This is the source where we learn out the din of Kamle B'Di Rabbi Minei, which we learned many times already. That it says when a man was fighting with another man and he pushed a woman, he meant to kill the man and he killed the woman. So he's Chayiv Misa for that. So then he doesn't pay the payment that he would have had to do for the blood because Kamle B'Di Rabbi Minei, and that's what the Mishnah says. So this whole sefer was saying that even though we said before that Chayiv Lav and Chayiv Misa, Chayiv Kores, they do have to pay the knas, but if it was Chayiv Mrs. Bezdin, all these cases, examples of women that are Chayiv Mrs. Bezdin for their relations, so then there's no payment because Kamle B'Di Rabbi Minei. We did mention that Reb Meir argues, according to one sheet, Reb Meir argues and says that by penalty, it don't say Kamle B'Di Rabbi Minei, and that wouldn't fit in according to Reb Meir, according to that pshat. So what do we have in our Mishnah? That there's a din of Gior, Shvuya, and a Shifcha that Chash that they were nivala. But Buddha seems to say that there's no Chash and a Shvuya that she, and it seems to say here the Pashup Pshat in the word say Rabbi is not choshesh that a shvuya was Nansa, and that's what the Gemara is going to talk about. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yudah, Rabbi Abdosa, Rabbi Yudah, Rabbi Mishnah, and Abdosa that we're going to find right away in the next brisa. They're in consistency with each other. They hold the same. They hold like each other. Rabbi Yudah, Rabbi Yudah, Rabbi Mishnah, we just mentioned that he doesn't hold that there's a chash that she was nivala because you see that she's eligible for knas. Abdosa the Tanya, shvuya achalas b'shuma. Rabbi Abdosa says that even if a woman was captured, she's Bas Kohen or Aisha's Kohen, she's allowed to continue to eat truma. That means that he's not choshesh that she was nivala. If she would have been nivala pasala, would behold that shvuya becomes asa. She's not allowed to stay married to a Kohen. She can eat truma. Abdosa says she may. So that seems to be they seem to be in consistency. that they don't hold that the whole chash that a shvuya was raped. Rabbi Dosa, the Bryce continues, V'chimas Allah, Rabbi Allah, this guy, this Arabi, this Arab, what did he do? He says, we're not choshed that he actually had relations with her. He might have played with her, he might have just touched her, but not that he actually had relations. So therefore, Rabbi Dosa says there's no chash that she should be also a truma. So Rabbi Yochanan said, this was Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said that Rabbi Dosa and Rabbi Yehuda both hold the same thing, that they're not choshesh that she was nivola. But now the Rabbi argues in Rabbi Yochanan, this was Rabbi Yochanan. Now Rabbi is going to argue, says in a slide, maybe not Rabbi, maybe Rabbi, that he argues and he says that it's not necessarily they don't hold of each other. Maybe they don't hold of each other. It means Rabbi Yehuda Bar Mishnah holds one thing, if Dosa over there says something else, and they're not talking about the same thing. Our mission was talking about knas. Is she eligible for knas? Is she considered a basula? Over there, Dosa talking about a shlari truma. That seems to be the same thing. That even two different cases, two applications, but both of them seem to be the same thing. But you could differentiate. That maybe there's a chash. Maybe there's a chash that a shvuya, a captive, was taken advantage and she was raped. But it could be that here we're not going to be making and say that somebody who was ma'anis, a shvuya, now she was a shvuya, and now then she get freed, and now we're going to say she's becheskas bula, and now somebody's going to rape her. So do so, he's not going to be chayv knas because she's becheskas bula. We don't want this chote to be niska. We don't want this ma'anes or this pata. We don't want him to get off the hook. He doesn't have to pay knas. She's a basula. It's not for sure she's a basula. It could be she's a basula. So we'll say that she's a basula. You have to pay the knas. We're going to be machmer on the ma'anis and mafata. You have to pay, and we're not going to let him get off the hook because maybe she's a bula. But to eat truma, by truma, you'd say that there's a chash that she's a bula and she's not allowed to eat truma. Inam, you can say that. You can say no, like a Yuda, I'd come like come Abdosa Hasam, even though Abdosa allows her to eat truma. He only means truma rabbanan. He doesn't say so. He says shvuya chelis b'truma, but you could explain only truma rabbanan because midaraisa it's not truma. So for that he was making to say she's not becheskas bula. But anything which is more than a question of rabbanan, aval the truma of a knas, the raisa kabbalas he really holds there is a chash of that she was nivola. The only reason why he's making to eat truma is truma rabbanan. So Rabbi says that not necessarily do you see that Abud and Abdosa agree with each other. Rabbi is our Mishnah, Abdos is over there. Rabbi Yochanan says it's all the same, that they're interdependent. And Rabbi says it could be not. It could be Rabbi is the only maker by Shvuya. It could be that Abdos is only maker by Tumah Rabbanan. Amalei Abaye challenged Rabbi. The time of Rabbi who is it possible to say that Rabbi only holds because he doesn't want the ma'anes and the mafata to gain and not have to pay the knas, but really he holds there is a chash that she was nivola. I'll show you Rabbi holds someplace else also that there is no chash that she was nivola, even when it doesn't have to do with the chote. He says not about the knas. How much ksuba is she eligible for? There was a girl who was captured and she was redeemed, and now someone's marrying her. Does he give ksuba 100? We know that gets 200 for, and someone who. So if she was a shvuya, what kind of ksuba does she get? Rabbi says she gets ksuba masayim. There's nothing. According to Rabbanan who say that a shvuya is becheskas that she was nivola, so she wouldn't get ksuba masayim. She only get 100. Rabbi says that there's no chash that she was nivola. She gets ksuba masayim also. She gets 200. And according to your upshot, that Rabbi is only saying by a shvuya, by knas, because he doesn't want chote. In this guy, he doesn't want the sinner to gain. But here there's no sinner. Here someone's marrying her. He wants to know how much ksuba he has to pay. There's no svar over there to say that after over there you're not going to be choshesh she was nivola. So you see that it's consistent. That always across the board is not choshesh that she was nivola. The Gemara says no. You're right. It's not the same thing about chote niska, but there's a svar. How come over there Abrid is going to say we're not choshesh that she was nivola because we don't want people to hesitate from marrying her. If we're going to say that after Shvuya was redeemed, that she was becheskas nivola, people are going to hesitate to marry her. Why should they marry a girl that's not a basula? Might as well marry someone that's a basula. So therefore, we said that ksubas masayim, we could assume that she was not nivola, even if you find out after he marries that maybe she was nivola. But still, ksubas masayim, we don't look at her like we don't want to put a label on her that she was nivola. So it could be. Rabbi says that Rabbi Yehuda also is choshesh for nivola. Shvuya is asla, but two exceptions. One is the Rabbi Knas. And one is like Suba that people shouldn't hesitate to marry her. Rabbi Yehuda says that there's no chash she was nivola, and the Gemara is going to ask contradictions. Tysus points out that the Gemara's conscious now are mostly going to be on Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is the one who says that He doesn't say this far about Shlo Yechot Niska. He goes across the board. Rabbi Yochanan learned that according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's really no chash that she was never by anything. Rabbi is the one who just said these differences, maybe only Chot Niska or Rabbi Kesuvos, but Rabbi Yochanan says across the board. I think the Gemara is going to be going, all these kashas, like Tesha says, are going to be only according to Rabbi Yochanan. And the Gemara is asking, does Rabbi Yehuda hold that she's not Becheskas Bula? Vatani, we learned in a Brisa. For this, a Shmuya Yisena, made by Lo Yisena. Rabbi Yehuda, Benkach or Benkach Lo Yisena. Here it's talking about if the aide who testified that she was not Nancy, he's a Kohen. Shmuya is not allowed to marry a Kohen. If she would be marry Yisrael, so even a Yisrael, she can marry because even if she was Nancy, she's allowed to marry Yisrael. But if she's wants to marry a Kohen, so she can't because she's what's called a zona. Not she was a zona on intentionally, but if she was Nancy, she's possible to a Kohen. So now the aide, an aide echad is enough to testify that she was not Nancy. If by Shmuya the din is the aide echad is good enough, we had even a shifcha, even a eved, even a shifcha. Is believed to say she was not an answer. So here the aide himself comes, he's a Kohen, and he testifies, I know she was not an answer, and he wants to marry her. He wants to marry her himself. So they were choshish that he's doing it because of his own and personal, what's the word? Negias. Negias, how do you say that in English?
Bias.
Yeah, okay. That he wants to marry her, so therefore we don't trust him. So it says that the aide, how does it go over here? Made lo yisena. The word poda means the one who ransomed her. He paid the money. He paid the money to ransom her out, so he's allowed to marry her. Okay, he paid money to ransom her out, like why not? But the maid he's the one who testified that she was not Nancy. He's a Kohen. He wants to marry her, so then he's not allowed to marry her. Even if he is the one who redeems her, the wasn't explained. There's no reason why he shouldn't be able to marry just because he redeemed her. The ones that can't take care of that in a minute. But it says that even if he's not made, even if he's not the aid, also he's not allowed to marry her. Is there a reason that the Gemara thinks that it's all one? Rashi explains what the Gemara's Havamina was. That the Gemara taught that it's the Podas Shvuya means that he redeemed her, and he's not testified. Now that he testified, it became worse. I'm not sure how to read the Gemara so well because the answer seems to be simple. The Gemara says that the Rashi says below Edus, without any testimony that she was not Nivola. Like why should that be? It means if he's a Kohen, a person's a Kohen and he redeemed her, he paid money, ransom money. So is that a reason that he's allowed to marry her just because he redeemed her? Let's see what the Gemara says. He has to for sure know that he has to say that he knows that she was not redeemed. If she was not nivola, if she was nivola, so what's up that he ransoms her? But he was saying that if he's saying I know she was not nivola, I'm a Kohen, I want to marry her, and I'm willing to pay money, so then we let him marry her. Why? Because he wouldn't shell out the money if he wouldn't be sure. It might come out that she was nivola, and then he's not going to be able to stay with her. So someone wouldn't pay money for ransom money and marry her if he's going to maybe be usher to stay with her. So if he's willing to pay the money to ransom her out, and he says, I know that she was not nivola, I'm a Kohen, I want to marry her, then we allow her. But if he wants to just testify and for free, he's not giving any money, someone else is going to ransom her out, and he says, I know that she was not nivola, that's not enough reason to marry her because he's the aide himself. Maybe he has her in the gears. So what does Tanakama say? That if he just testifies and he wants to marry her, we don't believe him. But if he's willing to give money, so then we do believe him. And Rabbi Yehuda says, it doesn't make a difference. Even if he gives money, we're not going to trust him. He's not allowed to marry her. But here, Rabbi Yehuda is thick in the issue that he's choshesh that a shvuya was nivola. According to our Mishnah, we're saying that he's no chash at all. So, as Lysis points out, there's only a kasha according to Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbah, that really also is that she's b'cheskas nivola, she's also to Kohen. Just this one din about knas, that we don't want to be a chotei niska. But the Gemara is going now that according to Rabbi Yochanan, explains according to Rabbi Yehuda, there is no chash that she was nivola. So why does he have this mamish contradiction? Here Rabbi Yehuda says that the Kohen is not allowed to marry her, well, even if he's with money. Even if he testifies that she was not nivola, and you're saying that Yehuda doesn't know the chash in the first place. You come up with Yehuda, contradiction. You have to change the gersa to take out the word low. He doesn't have to give money. Even if he doesn't give money, also he's allowed to marry her, and even without any aid, is probably also not that he knows. If she says she was not nivola, it's good enough. There's no chash on on a shvuya that she was nivala.
I missed the point with the money. Who pays money to what?
She's captured and they have to ransom her out.
Okay, yeah,
If the person who is saying, I know she was not Nansa, he's saying that he's willing to pay money to ransom her out, there's Tanakama says there's more reason to trust him because he wouldn't give money and then marry her and then he'd have to divorce her if they find out that she was really Nansa. So that, how do you say, he puts money where his mouth is, or something like that. He's willing to pay. And Abuda says, according to the Gersa now, that his mother is not chash anyway, and he's allowed to marry her without putting out any money. You could leave it the way it says it. He's just speaking according to their language, means I hold there's no chash and a shvu at all. But according to you, there shouldn't be any difference if there's money or not. Means if you hold there's no chash that she was never, so there's no chash. That's what I hold. There's no chash. But I hold there's no chash that she was never he's not a married. You shouldn't say that there's a difference if she gave money or not. That's not a reason to trust him more because he's willing to give out money. So the Gemara is happy to say that that Rabbi Yehuda is like a Berchanan says that there's no chash that a shvu is awesome. The Gemara just finishes off. What do the Rabbanan hold? This we said already outside, but here the Gemara says it. Why do the Rabbanan say difference if he gave the ransom money or not? Rabbanan apodes a shvu made by Yisena. A person is not going to throw away money for nothing. Means he's not going to give the ransom money. If he's choshish, maybe she's going to come out that she was Nansa, and then he's going to be able to live with her. He's not going to pay the money for that. But maybe
we don't have any chashash. Maybe it's better than just when he desires it.
The whole thing for sure is a chash rabbanan. There's no issa the rice that to say that there's no. You don't have to be choshish with the rice that she was Nansa. The whole thing is a chash rabbanan. She has a cheskas kashrus that she was a basula. There's a chash if the captors had raped her, and that's and she says that not also. She's saying that not. So that's the question: are you choshish or not? The whole thing is rabbanan. The shvuya kilu. We had a couple of times that a shvuya has a cheskas and really it's not a issa the rice. So here it says if together with that he's willing to pay money, so that might show that he's saying the truth, that he knows for sure, and he's not just doing it as an agias. But if he's not giving any money, maybe he wants to live with her, and therefore he's willing. He's saying edus that he really is not true. But if he gives money, so then we trust him more. That's what Tanakama says. Abuda says, according to the great way the Gemara fixed it up, Abuda holds there's no chash. Our Mishnah Abuda says no chash and the shvuya was raped, and therefore he'd be allowed to marry her. And there are other places where it says differently. So the Gemara says that changed the girsa, or he's only going according to Rabbanan. The Gemara continues. The Savar Rabbi Yehuda, a contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Mishnah holds she has the same status of kedusha, becheskas kusula, but not choshesh that she was Nansa. But Tanya, a contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. Hagyorish and his gyra, a woman who was who converted. So there can be two wishes over here in the Bryce. So the first one is not our subject. To be our subject. The first one is at the beginning of Masechus Tida. Usually when a woman sees blood, so the question is how long ago did it come out of the rechem, of the womb? Means when does she become tameh? When it comes out of the cervix, that's when she becomes tameh. Even though it's still inside the vagina, she's still tameh. It doesn't have to come out of the body in order to become tameh. Once it came out of the cervix, she's already tameh. No, the blood didn't get expelled from the body. So when she sees the blood, how long retroactively do you have to be choshesh that she was tameh? Means let's say she made lunch and she touched all the truma, and then after lunch she sees that she's a nida. So the blood could have been already inside the vaginal canal for many hours already, and she was tameh. So v'choshesh 24 hours in retrospect, 24 hours backward, v'choshesh that she was tameh already. When a woman sees the blood, v'choshesh that it was been already 24 hours. She's been already a nida.
Even though that doesn't matter,
right, it's in the body, right? But that's only has to come out of the cervix. It means it comes out of the cervix, even though it didn't come out of the body completely. You don't see it. She doesn't see the blood. She's tameh from the time it came out of the cervix. So the question is that do you say retroactively she was tameh? So here it says so a regular woman, the din is she's tameh for 24 hours in retrospect. If she touched any kind of truma or kachim that she touched within 24 hours backwards, is also considered tameh. If she ate it already, she ate it already. If she bought a korban, whatever she did. But if the truma is still here, you have truma that she touched within 24 hours. That is there. The gyoris. The gyoris became a gyoris. She converted. She went to the mikvah. She's a gyoris at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then 12 o'clock, a couple hours later, she sees blood. Are you choshish that it was here 24 hours ago? Now, if it was here 24 hours ago, it's not a problem because she saw the blood when she was a goy. God doesn't make her either. But the question is, are you going to be choshish that the blood it was expelled from the cervix after she went to the mikvah, before now. Let's say 9 o'clock she went to the mikvah, and then she saw that she's in need at 12 o'clock. Maybe she's been in need from 9:01. Maybe from 9:01, that's when she'd saw the dam. If she saw the blood yesterday, then is that okay?
No, but if we say it's 24 hours, then by her also it should be 24 hours.
No, so 25 hours, you say 25 hours is the maximum. Yechosh is 25, but 24, 23, 22, 21, 3, 2, 1. It might have been here. That's one side to say that as long as anything in prayer will make her tummy, you make her tummy as much as you can. So yeah, you're not going to make her tummy 24 hours ago. She was a goy, but as much since she became a Jewish, you'd be choshesh to prayer that she was tummy. That's what Rav Yehuda Omer Daya Shaita. Yosem Arei Kichol Anoshim. Right, but that's the question. That's some say not. Abila says since you can't go 24, you don't go as many hours. You just go 24 hours. And if 24 hours ago it wouldn't have been anything, but you was a guy, so it's nothing. And Dayashaita means that when she saw the blood, that's when she's tummy. She's not tummy before. If you can't jump back 24 hours, you don't jump back at all. And Yoshi says you go back as much as you can. That's machlokes. That's not our subject, but that was machlokes of Yehuda and Yoshi about how much do you go back in retrospect that the woman had been tummy. Now comes to our subject. You know, usually there's a din called hafchana that when a woman gets married, you want to make sure that she's not pregnant from somebody else earlier. So here that a goya she converted, and now you have to wait before she marries somebody that she should wait 3 months. That she shouldn't be expecting from somebody else. So that goes back to the big question about yechoshish that a goya. The more it's going to talk about a shvuya, the more at this point puts it all together. A shvuya, a goya, that she was mizana. We said the name Mishnah shvuya was machlokas. Avidah says that a shvuya not choshesh that she was mizana. And here he says by a goya you are choshesh. The Gemara at the beginning first compares it as if it's the same. The Gemara right away is going to jump, not the same case. But the Avidah says that she does have to wait 3 months before she gets married. Maybe she had relations before she became converted. So wait 3 months to make sure that she's not pregnant from somebody else. Rabbi Yossi says there's no you don't have to be choshesh. You don't have to be choshesh that she had relations before she became a gioris. What's the kasha? Gioris is shvuya karam. Is she asking a contradiction between a woman who converts and a captive? What's the comparison? Gioris like mitaman nafsha, shvuya mitaman nafsha. Rabbi Yehuda holds that a shvuya, a captive woman, she watches herself not to be mazana, but it doesn't talk about a goya. A gioris, before she was a gioris, she was a goya. So then she was mafka herself and she had relations. What's the kind? Who's talking about a gioris? A gioris, Rabbi Yehuda holds that you have to be choshesh from a prayer. They were talking about a shvuya. Shvuya doesn't have to. So what's the contradiction? So the Gemara says, right, that kasha was not a kasha. But there is another brayso where it says a shvuya also. And that's going to be a contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. But there is a contradiction between a captured woman. The Tanya, gioris v'ashvuya. Here it doesn't say just gioris. Before it spoke about a gioris. Here it talks about a gioris and a shvuya. And it says, a gioris v'ashvuya v'ashivcha sheniftu v'shenestaru v'sheneshtachru yiseres halbanos gimel shana v'yam echad. Yehuda says she doesn't have to wait 3 months. So it says beferish that a shvuya before she gets married, she was captured and redeemed, ransomed, and now she wants to get married. You have to wait 3 months in order to make sure that she's not expecting from somebody that was manus her as a captive. So you see that Yehuda is choshesh that a shvuya was nivola. Our Mishnah says, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that you're not choshesh. A shvuya, there's no din on a shvuya. You're not choshesh. This whole thing of a shvuya, Yehuda doesn't hold of it. He doesn't know that a captured woman is becheskas nivola. And here you see that he is, because he says she has to wait 3 months. Contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda.
Extra precaution, or that doesn't make sense. An extra precaution that's
Maybe that's the chumrah to wait 3 months. And
we don't
okay, I'm not,
but to be
extra careful. Okay, I'm not sure. The more doesn't say that there is. So ishtik. Rabbi Yossi might tell us was in a second. Why he's not choshesh that she was nivola, but Rabbi Yehuda is choshesh. So it's a contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. Ishtik. So Rabbi Yosef didn't know an answer to this kasha. Amalei. Rabbi Yosef said back to a papa. What's his name? The papa Bashmuel. Who asked the kasha? Ramadan papa Bashmuel to Rabbi Yosef. So Rabbi Yosef didn't know a teretz, and he asked the papa Bashmuel, do you have a teretz? Did you have any teretz to this kasha? Only in a case where you know that she was nivola. It's not, we know that she nivola. Then we have to wait. But no, then there's no chash. There's no chash of shvuya. But then now it doesn't make sense of Yossi. If you know for sure that she was nivola, so why should Yossi say she doesn't have to wait? She can get married right away. She might be expecting from the guy who was born her as a shvuya. So the Gemara is going to say that she makes sure she doesn't become pregnant. That when she's going to be mazana, she doesn't want to become pregnant. She takes a contraceptive. Over here, it's not a contraceptive. Here, she would put a mold. She put a cloth in the vagina to make sure she doesn't become pregnant. She wants to be mazana, but she doesn't want to become pregnant, so she takes caution not to. So the shvuya also, even if All these cases, the shvuya, the gyora, she makes sure that she's not going to become pregnant. That's why she doesn't have to wait 3 months. But the Gemara says, Bishlam gyoras, chimen the daita legure, mentima nafsha, shvuya nami de loyada hecha mamtula, shivcha nami de shama mipimora, eliosis b'shein vayim ma'ikalamema. That the Rabbi Yossi said in all 3 cases, you're not choshed that she needs 3 months. Here talked about a gioris, a shvuya, and a shivcha. All of them, they don't have to wait. The contract you do have to wait, and the Gemara says it means if you know for sure that they were nivola. And Rabbi Yossi says they don't have to wait, but not choshed she's pregnant. And the Gemara says, why not? Even though you know nivola, you know that she was nivola, still Rabbi Yossi holds she doesn't have to wait 3 months. Why not? Because she makes sure not to become pregnant. And the way the Gemara is going not to become pregnant, she has to know beforehand. She's mashamish mamok when she puts a cloth into the vagina before she's mashamish. So that's only by people who know that she's going to become Jewish again. She's going to get into society. Here the case would be that Bishlam Gioris, she wants to become a Gaya. So for those 3 months before she's going to convert, so she makes sure she doesn't become pregnant. And also a shvuya that she doesn't know where she's going to be ransomed. She might be ransomed amongst the Jews. If she'll be ransomed to the Goyim, so she then she doesn't. Her. But if she sends back to the Jews, she's choshish and she doesn't become pregnant from the goy. That's why she's also going to be mishamish b'mol. Shifchanami, a maid servant, when she gets freed, probably the master tells her, "I plan on freeing you." So she knows a couple of months beforehand. Then if she's never going to be mizana, she'll do a mof. She always has consciousness that she doesn't want to become pregnant, and she'll take care of it in order to make sure she's a contraceptive. But
she's mishbedes to the avodim, so to say. If the avodim gives her.
No, she's hefker, but if she knows she's going to be freed, so she'll make sure she doesn't become pregnant. Mishamash b'mov. Not because she's dafka meshubat rabbanim. She's hefker also. She's hefker. They're hefker. Ella yosef b'shem.
She knows she's going to have to follow the mitzvah after she.
But right now she's still a goy. She's still a shivcha. Ella yosef b'shem. Here the Maskasha is that she'll take the precaution of not becoming pregnant. That's only when she knows that she's going to be nival. So then she'll be mishamish. She'll put a mochin before. But Yosef B'Shem Vayin means that it happens spontaneous. That the master, by mistake, on purpose, knocked out her eye, a tooth. So then she goes free, and she didn't know beforehand. So she had no reason to take any kind of contraceptive, do anything. She wasn't prepared. She didn't know she's going to be free. If she's free, so then the master says, I plan on freeing you in the next couple of months. But in this case, she didn't know. He didn't know. She didn't know. So how could you say that she doesn't have to wait 3 months after she gets free? You might say that in those cases, she doesn't have to wait months. Rabbi Yossi himself doesn't mean to say that if she was Yotzei spontaneously, that she doesn't have to wait 3 months. Then she does have to wait 3 months because we are close that she was expecting. No. To take out the futa, maybe we can just block it out in red a second. This they say doesn't go. Hare anusa, the memela or Tanya anusa mafuta tzrichas lam tigim chadashim. The Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi Matei Elas v'Nasim Miyad. Fresh braysa. Rabbi Yossi holds that by anusa also she doesn't have to wait 3 months. And according to your explanation, Rabbi Yossi, if someone ruach nivola, someone for sure she was nivola, and the only reason Rabbi Yossi's matter to marry right away is because she makes sure she doesn't become pregnant beforehand, but here she didn't know about it. By Anusa, Anusa is the same case as Yosef Shem Vayin, that someone raped her. She didn't have any warning beforehand, and still you say that we're not choshish that she become pregnant. Why not? The answer is that this contraceptive has not only been beforehand. If she's going to be mazana, she'll take the precaution before she has relations. She'll make sure she won't become pregnant. And that the Gemara says sometimes she doesn't know before. Here the Gemara says there's a way how she can make sure she doesn't become pregnant even after they had relations. After they had relations, the Gemara calls it misapeches, which literally means that she turns over. It means it's in a way that she could get the zera, makes the semen shouldn't take hold, and she shouldn't become pregnant. Misapeches literally means to turn over, and that as if that's enough to make sure she shouldn't become pregnant. If it's not enough, it means she does something else. Whatever she has to do in order to wash out the semen that it shouldn't take hold. So therefore, even if she didn't know beforehand, she knows after. Even if she was raped and she didn't know beforehand to prepare to be mishamash b'mo, she also could take the precaution not to become pregnant even afterwards also. The idach, and Rabbi Yehuda says that even though she doesn't want to become pregnant, you are choshish. It doesn't always work. If she doesn't know how to do it well, so he's choshish, right? So what the Gemara says? The Rashi says you have to be choshish for because she doesn't want to become pregnant, and she takes caution not to either before or after, and she's not going to become pregnant. So just to sum up what the Gemara said, our Mishnah said that then we had the whole time that a shvuya was choshish that she was Nensa, Nivala, and therefore a Shvuya is not going to get Knas because one of the conditions to get Knas is that she has to be a Basula, and the Shvuya is not the Cheskas Basula. Rabbi Yehuda argues in our Mishnah. The Gemara has machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbah. Is it all across the board? The Rabbi Yochanan holds that a Shvuya is not the Cheskas Bula. He says that there's no such thing, that a Shvuya, we could assume that she's still a Basula, like a Dosa does, she's allowed to eat Truma. And Rabbah says, no, it's only an exception over here because Shlo Yechot and Niskar, that the Ma'anes or the Mafata shouldn't gain not to pay the Knas. We want to pay the Knas, even though there's a Knas. So in order that she shouldn't get a bad name and it'll be hard for her to get a Shidduch. So therefore, we say that she is B'cheskas Basula. Otherwise, if you also might agree that she is B'cheskas Bula. After
those who took take her are interested in her good name. They just wanted to.
That's not the subject. That's not the subject. We're talking about now that after. No. We're talking about now. She got freed. Now she wants to get married. Does she get Ksuba Masayim? Now she got a good yeshiva bracha. She wants to know if Ksuba Masayim or Ksuba Mana. So if you say that she only gets Mana, so then she gets a bad name amongst the yeshiva bracha. Why should they take a Basula, a Bula, Shvuya? They'll take a regular girl. So we say no. She's also B'cheskas Basula. It's fine. Take her. It's 200. That'll give her a good rating amongst the good shidduchim. That was how Rabbah explained. And then the Gemara goes on to ask the Kashas on Rabbi Yochanan, who says that the Yehuda doesn't know the Shvuya at all, that you see that he also says that a Kohen's allowed to marry her. So the Gemara changed that. They might have a problem with this, says Lo Yisena, so we change it, either says Yisena, or according to the Dvem Rabbanan, I hold Yisena, but you hold Lo Yisena. Just to point out that the Rabbanan who hold the Izach Shash of Shvuya, they also agree that if the Kohen, the aid, he says, I know that she was not Nensa, and I'm willing to pay the Nensa, that's also enough to trust him because he's not going to throw out his money. The Gemara Kasha from a Brisa who Rabbi Yehuda says that she does have to wait 3 months. That was a Kasha. She does have to wait 3 months, and now he's saying according to Kasha Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda himself holds there's no chash. Rabbi Yochanan, you said there's no chash according to Rabbi Yehuda that she was Nensa. The answer is she was a nivola. The only in case we know for sure that she was nivola, that's when you have to wait 3 months. And Rabbi Yochanan says even in that case, we're not choshish because she makes sure she doesn't become pregnant, and even afterwards, even if it's she didn't have any warning, she's going to be misapeches in a way to make sure that she won't become pregnant. And Rabbi Yehuda is still choshish for that. But if you don't know that she was Nensa, Rabbi Yehuda would say I don't have to be choshish. Only in a case where she was for sure Nensa. But we pass like to Rabbanan, there's only Rabbi Yehuda, but we pass like to Rabbanan that every shvuya is a chash and that she was nivola and therefore she has to wait 3 months. Back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, the end of the Mishnah, different subject. The end of the Mishnah said that if there was, yes, please.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the Lashon from Mishnah, if I'm not mistaken, that Rabbi Yehuda holds that she says B'Ktushasa, that she herself said,
she's B'cheskas, not Nivola. If she says she's Nivola, she says, but she's saying, all these cases, she's saying she was not Nivola. Do you trust her or not? So you do give her the Cheskas Kashrus that she still is a Basula.
So even if she doesn't say anything, or if she does say something.
If she, what do you mean? If she does,
positive, she's B'Ktushasa.
She says that she was not Nivola, we trust her.
And if she doesn't say anything,
then we ask her, will you Nivola or not? We're not going to play dumb. If she says that she was Nivola, all the cases are she's saying she was not Nivola. If she says she was Nivola, so then she's not. That's always. Okay, the Mishnah ended off, second case about Kamli B'Drabimine, that if someone was Ma'anas, so relative, that's Chaymis is Bezdin, so then it's not going to be a payment because Kamli B'Drabimine, and the more brings a pasuk, we had that before a couple of pages. If a man is fighting with a man to kill him, and if by mistake killed a woman, so he doesn't pay the payment because Kamli B'Drabimine. And the Maz Kasha, with what we learned already before, also about Lain Lokum Shalim, here goes the Sugi. Shenema V'lo Yason Enosh Yonesh. This is the source where you learn how Kamli. We also not good. So it's a punishment for his kids, and the drasha was punisher. You only punish him one wickedness, not two wickedness, not two evils. That means that was to be also a source to say that he shouldn't get two punishments. So, like we said, that he only gets the bigger punishment. He doesn't get the lower one. So I have to have two psukim for. So we had this already. We said it on our own. The pasuk over here by us is talking about a death penalty that he killed somebody, which is death penalty, and also he incurred upon himself a monetary penalty. So then only the Misa, and come Levi Drabin. And the pasuk about Kedei Rishasol is talking about Malchus and Mammon, that he's chayiv, he did something which is chayiv Malchus lashes and also money. So then also he doesn't pay the money because of the lashes. And you have to have two psukim, one for Misa and Mammon, one for Malchus and Mammon. How come you have to have two psukim? Why can't you learn out one from the other? With Sricha, you have necessary to have both psukim. You wouldn't be able to learn out one from the other. Yashmina Misa and Mammon Misham Diki ibn Neshama. About Malchus and Mammon, the lucky ibn Neshama, Amalo. If you kill him, you're killing him. That's really a big one. That includes the money also. But maybe Malchus is not such a big punishment like Misa, so maybe it doesn't cover the money. If he gets a big punishment, death, so then that's the reason why he should cover the money also. But if he gets a small punishment of Malchus, it's not enough reason that he should cover the money. Maybe he has to pay the money also. That's one way to look at it. You might think that only when it's a small avera. Malchus, of course, is not a big avera as when he's chayiv misa. So if it was Malchus and Mammon is a small avera, over there the Torah parted him from the money because the whole thing was a small avera. But if it was a misa and Mammon, a big avera, maybe over there the Torah's not going to part him. Maybe you'd have to pay the money also. Tzricha, that is a Torah by both of them, both by misa and Mammon or Malchus and Mammon, he doesn't pay the Mammon. So you have two psukim, and we're happy you need a pasuk for both of them. Both of them are true. That in Kamli V'Drabi Minei and also in Lokum Mishalim, you need pasukim for both of them. Bottom line, but Meir, we had before, Meir holds Lokum Mishalim. He does hold that he gets both punishments. And the Gemara said that he does agree, that the Gemara did say, that everybody agrees that is Kamli V'Drabi Minei, that he also would agree that if he's put to death, there's not going to be a punishment, but he agrees, but he holds Lokum Mishalim. So you don't have to have two psukim now. Although Meir done with Lokum Mishalim, so Tati Lamali, that comes back, you don't need two psukim. How come he also agrees below Yason? But if there's an also, if there is also an onish, then below Yaonish and Knevisha. So what do you do? Psukim? Chadav moment. We turn the page for Chadav Malchus. It's true that Malchus doesn't part the moment. If he's chayv Malchus and moment, he does both. Lokum Mishalim. But Misa and Mammon or Misa and Malchus, both of them will be a ptor. If he did something which he incurs upon himself two penalties, death penalty and also a monetary penalty, no money, no, that's for free. And also Misa and Malchus. We didn't talk about this yet, but now we're saying even Rabbi is also going to hold that Misa and Malchus also parties. Misa parties everything. If he gets put to death or he did a capital crime, even though he's not punished, like we said, Lo Isru Bey, that's a different point. Chayv Misa Shogin, but the Misa will part a smaller punishment, both if it's money or if it's Malchus. And again, the Gemara says you wouldn't be able to learn one from the other. With Sricha, you need both psukim. Yashmin and Misa Mammon, Mishum B'chadav B'gufei, B'chadav B'mamone, Lo Avdina. If you're going to punish him to kill him and also money, that's considered that you gave him two punishments. One on his body, means that you're killing him. The other one is his money. So maybe you don't do those two kind of punishments. You might think, you might think that that's not a reason to part the Misa Malchus, because Misa Malchus, both of them is corporal punishment, corporal on his body. You're killing him, and also he deserves Malchus. So maybe that's like considered one big death sentence, that you give him Malchus and then you kill him. Maybe we're not going to say that it's considered two punishments. And maybe over there, even though Misa does part the Malchus, Mammon, maybe it doesn't part the Malchus. Or you can say the other, look at it the other way. The Ashmin and Misa Malchus, the Tati Begufe Love Dina, of a Misa Mammon, the Chadav Begufe, the Chadav Bemamone, and Manavid Beit Tzrich, Mamish opposite Svara. You might say that if it's going to be both on his body, to kill him and also to give him Yisurim, to afflict him, to give him lashes, then don't do it. But if it's going to be on two different things, Misa Mammon, maybe you just do it. Maybe it wasn't as bad as other. Just for us, Lakan, if you have to have psukim. It comes out, Maisa, we pass like the Rabbanat, that there's Kamli B'Drabi Minei, and also in Lokum Mishalim, not like Rameir. And also Misa Malchus, everything partas. We have psukim for everything. We hold everything part. Misa partas any kind of lower punishment, and also Malchus partas any kind of lower punishment. The rest of the Gemara seems to be, as much as I saw, the rest of the Gemara seems to be a tangent. We brought psukim that why you have to have two psukim for Kamli B'Drabi Minei. Now the Gemara goes on, it seems to be a tangent. How come you have many psukim to say one yesod? And the same, it does seems to be a related topic. It doesn't seem to be the same topic. That there's a din, it says that if someone's chayiv misa, you cannot take ransom from him. You can't ransom, they can't bail himself out, can't ransom himself out. If he's chayiv misa, death penalty, you kill him and you don't take any ransom. And it says many times the same thing over again, it seems, and the Gemara is going to have a drasha for all of them. The whole thing seems to be in parentheses till the bottom of the page, till the next page. It says in the pasuk, this is the end of Parshas Maseh, where it talks about, we had recently a couple of weeks ago, that it talks about if somebody kills. So if it was b'mezid, you kill him. If it was b'shogeg, he goes to the city of refuge, or miklat. And it says, don't take kofar. Kofar means sometimes you let a ransom himself out. It says kofar. We know kofar from when somebody's ox kills somebody, then you do pay kofar. You don't kill the owner, but he has to pay kofar. He has to pay pidyon. He has to pay ransom of how much he would have been, or the nizik would have been worth. But then it says, what? In atonement, kofar kapara, kofar There's a question about that. But anyway, it says, you have to have this pasuk to say that don't take money for someone who's a murderer. Don't take money from him and pater him from death penalty. Yes, death penalty. Don't take money to ransom him. How come the pasuk continues to say over there, don't take kofar? The pasuk seems, I'm not sure how I read the pasuk over there. Does it mean don't take kofar that he should be able to go to the city of refuge? The Gemara doesn't know like that. The Gemara says someone who killed the shogeg, he's high of city of refuge, and he comes. I want to pay my way out. I'll pay money instead. I want to stay home. I don't want to go to exile, and I'll pay money. So also says and that also. So sikha kofar lanus, like lanus, for somebody who's supposed to go to or miklat, supposed to run to the city of refuge. Don't take money from him. Lamali dam rachmana. Don't take money to pater from Golas. If he killed a Mazid, don't take money from him to pater him from death penalty. And if he killed unintentionally, don't take money from him to pater him from going to the city of refuge. Why do you need two psukim? That we said that Mazid is chayv death penalty, the shogeg is chayv to go to Golas, and both of them, there's no way to get out of it by paying ransom. Do you have as far each way? Why should you say one yes, one not? Maybe if he killed, that's really chomer. He killed, but he's chayiv misa. So then we're not going to take ransom to pater him from getting that death penalty. But if he's only chayiv, only did b'shogeg, unintentionally he killed. Maybe over there you would take ransom that he shouldn't have to go to the city of refuge. Kamash Malan. The Yashmin and the other way also. The Yashmin and shogeg, we should the lucky ibn neshama. Amazing, ibn neshama. You might think that if he killed, and he's going to be chayiv death penalty, so we would take money in order to save a Jewish life, the Jewish life of the murderer. That take money in order that he shouldn't kill him. But by the case of the shogeg, where he's not going to die, he'll go to the city of refuge. He'll stay in Golos for a couple of years as long as he has to. Maybe over there's more reason not to take a ransom. But by killing him, maybe do take ransom that he shouldn't kill him. Tzricha, they're both. If someone's chayiv misa, you have to kill them. There's no way to find it out. The pasuk, another pasuk now. The pasuk says over there that the land does not atone for the blood that was spilled. If somebody murdered, only with the blood of the spiller. It means if somebody killed, the kapara is only to kill the murderer. You have to kill the murderer. There's no way out. Which is saying the same thing over again. Why do you have to have another pasuk for the same thing? Lamali. Egla v'achkach nimsa horig v'nayin shein potenoso. Shenema v'los layichupal l'dam asher shupach b'akim b'dam shofcho. The din is if they didn't know who the murderer was, but in the parshas Shoftim, it says if there was someone found a slain man and you don't know who killed him, so the closest city has to bring Egla Rufa, and that's considered an atonement until they find the murderer. But here, that's what it says. You might think that once he did a Egla Rufa, maybe it's an atonement for the murderer, and even after you find him, he's part of Misa. So it says no, it's only atonement for the tzibur that somebody murdered amongst them. So then, as long as you don't know who it is, say bring Egla Rufa. But once you find the murderer, you have to kill him. That's what it says. You need this person. How do you know that if they did the Egla Rufa and then they found the murderer, that you don't pater him? Kamashmalan, this pasuk that says that the earth is not atoned until you kill him. So you need an extra pasuk to tell you that chiddush also. There's another pasuk. That's in Parsha Shoftim over there where it talks about Egla Rufa, and it says you should eradicate the innocent blood from amongst you, which is another way to say kill the murderer. So it says again and again, kill the murderer. Lovely. Why do you need all these psukim for? This is a side Russia. How do you know that you're supposed to, skila, straight for hereg, there are 4 kinds of death penalties: stoning and burning, right? And hereg, which means that you behead and with a knife, with a sword, and chenek means strangulation. But anyway, how do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know you kill him by the neck? Maybe you kill him, maybe you stab him. How do you know that you kill him by cutting his neck? You're not allowed from Egaluf. It says openly, what do you do to Egaluf? You bring a calf, and as long as when you don't know who the murderer was, say you bring a calf and you chop off the head of the calf. Over there, it happens to be from the back of the neck with a cleaver. But that the Gemara is going to say right away that. But to know that it's from the neck, that much we do know now. The same way you do that Eglarufa by the neck, also you kill the murderer by the neck also. If you do exactly the way you do to Eglarufa, that would mean that you don't use a knife, you don't use a sword, you do a kofetz. A kofetz is a kind of a chopper, a cleaver, axe, and also mimol orif that is behind the back of the head. I can kill him like that. And whenever to kill applies to any kind of kamocha. And here, even how to kill him, also do it the best possible way. So the way that's considered more honorable is to kill him by the neck, not to chop the back of his head off. So therefore, in this case also, we have to they say it's very interesting that the Gemara, all of Shas says a few times after most of the places it talks about how to kill him, to kill him in a respectable way. Of course, after also applies and when you're keeping him alive. But many times the Gemara talks about after how you kill him. When you have to kill him, but also kill him in the most respectable way that you could, or the easiest way. There's another passage that talks about to kill a murderer. It says, at the end of Sefer Vayikra, it says, the pasuk is a hard pasuk, but the way the Gemara explains, anybody that's chayiv to be killed, don't redeem him. Anybody that is supposed to be destroyed, who's supposed to be destroyed? Somebody who's chayiv misa, death penalty. So it can't be redeemed. Again, the pasuk again and again, so many pasukim to say, don't ransom out a murderer. So it's a drash, not the pasuk shot, but the drash over here to say if someone is, it's been the verdict against him was that he's chayiv misa. A death penalty, he's already, how do you say the word that's already it's already sealed already? They made a verdict against him. I forgot the word. But if somebody is supposed to be killed, and then somebody says erko alai, the whole thing of Parshas Erkin means that a person, somebody could obligate himself to pay the value of somebody. But there's not a value that they sell in the market, but there's a value that the Torah says for a gender and for the age. It says how much you have to pay Erkin. So if somebody said on a person who's already been decided, that's the word, sentence. He's already sentenced to death. So if someone said erko alai, so it doesn't have any value, and therefore he doesn't have to pay anything. And that's how he learned the pasuk. Somebody who's being put to death, lo yipadeh, means he doesn't have to pay. He doesn't have to pay the pledge that somebody pledged about him going to give his value. He doesn't have to because it's not considered a value. Even though erko doesn't go with the value in the market, it's also considered a value. But someone argue on that. He holds that if he would say the value, there's no value, somebody's been sentenced to death. But Erchen is not value, it has to do with the Torah. Torah says this is how much you have to pay. So he holds that even a person who's been sentenced to death also he has to pay. So the pasuk is extra. Hi, but they want to do this extra pasuk. You find in the Torah such a thing as a ransom. Where does it say that? Well, partially we said before that if someone's ox killed a human being, so the owner has to pay kofar. Kofar the value, kapora, how much? How do you evaluate it? But he's paying a kofar. He ransoms out. The more looks at it like really is chayiv to be killed. The owner of an ox that killed somebody, the owner really should be killed, not death penalty in Bezdin, not the earthly Bezdin, but Misa B'dei Shamayim. And the fact that he's ransoming himself out, that's a way of getting himself out of the Chiyav Misa. So you should find such a thing as kofar in the Torah that a person sometimes can ransom out his death penalty. Heaven. So you might think that also if it's chayiv misas Bezdin, if Bezdin is supposed to come, also he can ransom himself out, which really we're talking about the whole time. The pasuk says 5 times already you can't ransom out. That the more is going to ask in a second what's to happen. But you think that a person can ransom himself out also from a earth death penalty. The more it says in the pasuk kol cherim. Where's that pasuk before? That it says here kol cherim there's a kol. The more leaves it out for a second because it's going to stick it in soon. We're going to dash in the kol in a couple of lines. But first it says that you cannot ransom somebody who's chayiv misas bezdin. Mainly, misas chamur shalanit shegas lekapara, misas kalish and shegas lekapara menayin. See, here Rashi explains that there are two kinds of death penalties. Sometimes, if he did it with Edom Asra, he was warned and mamish that you're going to kill him. But if there's no way that if you don't kill him for whatever reason, he wasn't warned. So there's a question: does he chayiv koresh b'meizid in a way that if he did a b'shogeg he chayiv b'kol b'chatas, or some other kind of kapara like by shogeg goes to golus by killing for golus? There's some kind of a kapara for a shogeg. So you might think that only those death penalties that are so severe that there's no kapara if you would have done a b'shogeg. So then over there the Torah says you can't ransom him out. misos, kalos, shenit. She doesn't like a par. Rashi says most of the cases would be like Rashi says about the Zorah, Shabbos, Arayos. All these cases, if he doesn't get killed, is also a kores if he did it b'mezid, and a korban chatas if he did it b'shogeg. If someone's b'chal Shabbos b'shogeg, he brings a korban chatas. So with the Zorah b'shogeg, Arayos b'shogeg. Rashi says the case before would be if somebody this I know. It says if somebody hit his father. Or one of nefesh Yisrael. Rashi says that there's no kapor, there's no shogeg. Even if he did it b'shogeg, it doesn't bring a korban chatas. I didn't know that. I'd like to look into it a little bit more. That it says that some avarice, it doesn't say that there's a chatas b'shogeg. So you might think that only those avarice that are so severe that there's no chatas b'shogeg. Over there, the Torah says he can't ransom out his death penalty. But if it will be a miskala, that means that on that avera, the shogeg, there is a kapor. You might think that there's a ransom for that bezid also. Tamaloma kol cherim. You have to have the word kol. Kol cherim. That's why I said it before. I said cherim. Yeah, kol cherim. That matter doesn't understand. That's what the whole time. The whole time we're talking about that there's no ransom for a person who's high misa. Why do you need this pasuk for? The Gemara says you find kol for b'dei shamayim, so to kol for b'dei adam. That was the first pasuk all the way in the beginning. We said this is the pasuk. Lo sikhu kol for nefesh v'tzech, that you don't take any ransom. So why do you need this pasuk for? That's the Gemara's kasha on the bottom over here. The lo memela. Don't you know that already? Back to square one. We have a pasuk you don't take. So why do you have to have this pasuk for? Top of the next page. Hani mili hegach the hargo derech aliyah. Shalom nitna shigiyasa lekapara. Aval hargo b'derech yivida the nitna shigiyasa lekapara. Ema nishkal minei mamona minei the nifter mashmalan. See, I didn't really. Just the words from this. There's a difference when someone kills by mistake. There's a chiluk between derech aliyah and derech yivida. Derech yivida means on the way down, so like someone's wielding an axe. So on the way down, it's considered more. If he did it b'shogeg, then the handle flew off, and he killed somebody. So then he's chayv golus. But if on the way up, he was taking the axe on the backward motion, and he killed somebody by mistake. So over there's no kapar, there's no golus. So you might think that only derech aliyah that the b'shogeg, there's no kapar over there. So then the pasuk says that's the pasuk over there. It talks about not to take kol for the nefesh v'tzeach. So there it's talking about the shogeg, but even b'mezid derech aliyah, because then if it would have been a shogeg, there would not have been a kapara. It wouldn't have been a golus. But if he did a derech yirida, that if he would have been b'shogeg, it would have been a kapara. Maybe you could take a ransom to doing it b'mezid. Kamash malan. This part I have to go. The last thing I'll go over again tomorrow, as Hashem, I didn't get it straight. But in general, that was the issue. All this seems to be mamish a tangent because we're bringing psukim, more psukim than we had till now. That a person doesn't get a death penalty together with paying money. He doesn't get a death penalty and malchus. He doesn't get malchus and money. All these things that only gets one punishment instead of two. We brought psukim for all that and said why you have to have psukim for each one of them. And also, the Gemara seems to be agav all the psukim it says about not taking ransom from murderer and for golus. And what did the Gemara say more? That the other psukim are necessary to tell you different pratim. That even if the rozech was found after the egla rufa, that's not a ptur. And the Gemara drush also to tell you that misa sayif is from the neck, not just like egla rufa. And then about erchin, that if a person said erki Allah, and a person who is very sensitive to death, he doesn't have to pay anything. The last thing the Gemara said, there was somebody that argues and says that he does have to pay erchin, and that the Gemara said that's what we're in the middle of now. We'll have to go back to this again. Bez Hashem tomorrow. Yashikoach. Yashikoach. Thank you.
No,